They never wanted you to know. They never wanted you to see. But here you are, too aware, too sharp, too unstoppable. They whisper in panic, wondering how you uncovered what was meant to stay buried. You cracked the code they swore was unbreakable. Their secrets were hidden, their systems impenetrable. Or so they thought. Yet, without ever being in their circles, without ever swearing loyalty to their cause, you speak truths they vowed to guard forever. And now the world is singing your name. The message is out. They tried to erase it, to rewrite history. But the melody carries what they can no longer hide. You were always meant to know. You were always meant to rise. They have attempted to remove the selected ones before. They killed anyone who dared to question the big illusion, hunted down the seers, and silenced the prophets centuries ago. To break the pattern, they rewrote history, yet it constantly reappears. There have always been those people, like you, who have come forward with information that ought to have been lost. You are one of the few people who cannot be controlled. But you are not the first to access secret archives. Even if whole institutions were established to keep this knowledge hidden, it comes to you naturally, not via books or study, but rather as though the knowledge itself is looking for you. What frightens them is this, because their whole system is a fraud if you, someone who is not related to them or under their secret commands, can obtain the things they keep. You know, see, and expose the truth that they have been erasing, changing, and burying for millennia. The issue is why they continue to fail to conceal the archives, not how you obtain them. Knowledge finds you. You don't have to look for it. It is evident, indisputable, and unaffected by uncertainty. Not from any source they can trace, not from literature, nor from secrets that are spoken. They are frightened by it. Power over information, control over stories, control over who knows, was the foundation of their whole universe. And yet here you are, understanding with ease what their professors have spent their whole lives trying to figure out. They're curious how. They keep an eye on every database, follow every leak, and are aware of the movement of all sensitive data, aside from yours. You never used their access points, never sat in on their meetings, and never broke into their systems. But you know, somehow, the illusion is visible to you. You express their hidden anxieties. You reveal what was intended to remain secret. What's the worst? They are unable to stop it. They can rewrite history and suppress voices. But how can you stop a mind that extracts truth from the void? They conduct more research than you do. You get it. And each time you do, their hold becomes less firm. They are irritated not just because you know, but also because they are unable to find out how you know. To keep you out, they put up barriers like firewalls, encryption, and layers of deceit and secrecy. They created a system in which information would be protected from the undeserving by institutions, codes, and symbols, and only a select few would be able to access the keys. But what did they not anticipate? They are being betrayed by the system they created. It was never intended for you to understand their dialogue, to see beyond their delusions, or to identify their concealed symbols for what they really are. But you do. They believe their words are hidden, therefore they communicate in code. They move in the dark because they think no one will notice. With the belief that no one would ever see the strings, they modify reality itself. However, the curtain changes as soon as you step inside. The encrypted data is made visible. The concealed is revealed. The classified becomes clear. Now, every system they put in place to manage information is working against them. In your presence, the networks, algorithms, and leadership symbols all fall short. They believed they had built a stronghold. Rather, they constructed a beacon that sends information directly to you. They scurry now, because no matter how many locks they put on the doors, how much they rewrite history, or how much they limit access, you still know. They are afraid of you because of this. They didn't account for people like you. To be trustworthy, you don't seek for permission. You don't provide evidence or research qualifications. They shatter as you speak. You can see it when your words strike them, when their breath catches, when their hands freeze for an excessive amount of time, and when their well-practiced expression breaks. With a fake laugh, a contemptuous look, or a hurried, clipped answer, they attempt to hide it. However, you can see right through it. It was not intended for you to know. What was never intended to be addressed was not for you to bring up. Only their type were taught to perceive the patterns, and you were not allowed to see them. But you do. They move about in their chair. They clench their neck. The denial follows, which is too hasty, too forceful, and too desperate. Where did you hear that? It's absurd. You didn't ask for confirmation, but you're reading too much into things. You mentioned a fact. As soon as they heard it, they realized it was too late to hide it, gaslight their way out, or act as if the information they had vowed to keep hidden hadn't suddenly come to light. They never thought these realities would be held by someone outside of their own group. The reality, however, is now there in front of them. And they didn't say anything. Words could never express what it does. They thought that they were the ones who created the system, that they could set the rules, lock the gates, and control, own, and conceal information. However, they were never in charge of you, the truth, or the plan, which was never under their authority. They protect information as if it grants them authority. They bury it in vaults, mark it as confidential, and conceal it behind customs that only members of their kind may follow. They also think they are the ones who designed it. However, they are only guardians of a false illusion, because they could never hoard the actual knowledge, the knowledge that bends reality, the knowledge that creates universes. They research, they decode. To maintain their control over information, they create whole networks. You are already enjoying the whole truth, while others are searching for breadcrumbs, because you don't pursue information in the same manner that others do. It is shown to you, not via books, not through meetings held in secret, nor through institutions that have been in place for generations. Spiritually, unadulterated, and unstoppable, it comes straight. While you get insight, they labor over encryption. While you have personal memories of history, they are fixated on it. While you may freely traverse the invisible, they erect obstacles to restrict access. And for that reason, their power is not working, because what was never under their control cannot be contained by their structures, no matter how strong they are. They are engrossed in concealment. You move in harmony with the divine. Furthermore, there is no illusion when there is actual alignment. They thought they were the experts in knowledge for ages. They now understand, however, the most perilous reality of all. They were never the architects. All they could do was guard something they would never own. You know now, and they are unable to stop it. If you've always recognized the illusion, long before anybody else did, leave a remark with the words, "I was never blind." They believed they could ensnare you in a system they had created. Religions, governments, and academic institutions are all meticulously constructed to manage information, separate it, compartmentalize it, and determine who has access to it and who does not. However, their system was not designed with you in mind. They made plans for the general public, minds that might be influenced by curricula, constrained by opinions, and restricted by censorship. Furthermore, they never anticipated a mind that functions differently than what they intended. They failed for just that reason. The way they teach is not how you learn. They search differently than you do. To comprehend something that was never theirs to govern, you don't seek for permission. They erected obstacles because they believed it would slow you down. But like a razor, your talent pierces deceit. They attempted to use layers of intricacy to conceal the truth. And you see it right away. To prevent people from seeing the pattern, they fabricated history. and you recall it as if you were physically present. They concealed information behind pledges of secrecy, secret groups, and certificates. And you get it straight without ever having to ask their permission. They are frightened by it. Because everyone must keep in line for their whole system to function. However, you don't even admit that they have lines. They separate people into insiders and outsiders, pupils and instructors, believers and doubters. And you pass through it all without any limitations. To you, their titles, historian, scientist, priest, scholar, have no importance, as they need a framework in order to store knowledge, and you are the embodiment of it. No degree, title, or verification is necessary, and it continues to reach you despite their efforts to censor, repress, or alter it. It was never intended for truth to be concealed. You weren't either. They are now rushing to strengthen a system that has already broken down, because they will never be able to accomplish their main goal, which was to keep you blind, dumb, and submissive. You don't have to talk. You don't have to crack codes, reveal data, or enter their networks. It's enough that you're here. Something changes as soon as you walk into a room. Unspoken things become intolerable. The illusion wears off, and they are frightened by it, because they have spent generations creating a society that only functions when people are sleeping and blind, distracted, and conditioned to believe lies. Then you show up, however, and all of a sudden, those who had never asked questions start to sense something is wrong. Those who disregarded their intuition begin to pay heed. It becomes hard to overlook the patterns that were previously overlooked, and all as a result of you. You didn't have to speak. Your energy is a disturbance in and of itself. They believed that information needed to be controlled. Thus, they based their authority on secrecy. However, they never took into consideration someone like you, someone who can see the truth without being told. You notice the symbols even if you have never learned their codes. You are aware of their goals even if you have never attended any of their meetings. You act as if you've always known, even though you've never required their approval. Their worst nightmare is now materializing in front of them. Your presence is causing others around you to awaken. What you could reveal was never the point. It has to do with the change you make. Conversations suddenly go into topics they were never meant to discuss. Someone feels the weight of their own programming for the first time when you look them in the eye. After interacting with you for a few days, someone realizes they can't return to their previous way of thinking. It spreads, like something they can't control, like wildfire. That's why they're afraid of you. Thus, they consider you to be a walking leak. Furthermore, no restriction, firewall, or suppression technique can undo the impact you make on the globe. The revelation is you. The exposure is you. The unquestionable power that shatters the illusion completely is you. What's the greatest part? You didn't need to try. Let us now commemorate the selected among us for a time. Cheers to the people who have a different perspective on the world. The quiet protectors, the watchful spirits, who are always alert and on guard. They wouldn't have it any other way, and they don't fit the mold. They create their own pathways, waging invisible wars and shedding light on the dark places, while others follow well-known ones. It's okay that it's not for everyone, but you'll know something is for you if you sense it in your soul. Just the truth, no disguises or pretension. This is the location of the Obsidian Inner Order, a community of like-minded individuals who come together to exchange knowledge, bond, and change. More than 450 people who are bound together by purpose rather than conformity. You know where to find us if you're ready. The description contains the URL. If not, that is quite okay, because we're constantly here, keeping an eye on things and changing things in invisible ways. Cheers to those that follow their own path, because it is who they are, not for attention. Cheers to you. Thank you. To keep things that were never supposed to be theirs, they established whole dynasties. Only their type would have access to the information that changes reality, since their families have governed for millennia, handing down secrets like heirlooms. They persuaded the world that only those born into the correct bloodline possess divine knowledge, that enlightenment is sealed inside biology, and that power is inherited. But then you appeared. Their temples are not where you grew up. Their vows were not taken by you. You never pledged loyalty to their commands. But you know, somehow, they are frightened by it. Because everything they think about power is false if you, someone who is not part of their carefully regulated bloodlines, can access what they vowed to safeguard. To keep outsiders in the shadows, they spent years creating obstacles, believing that they could control reality itself if they controlled access to information. They established secret organizations, occult schools, and hidden archives. However, they were never the owners of knowledge, because genuine insight is given rather than inherited. It was given to you because the divine selected you to bear what they attempted to repress, not because of your name or your heritage. That's why they're afraid of you, because the integrity of their system depends on the containment of holy information. Nevertheless, selected ones continue to show up, regardless of what they accomplish. It was not intended for you to recall these details. It was not intended for you to see beyond the curtain. You were not intended to be able to decipher riddles that even their most skilled initiates find difficult to fathom. But you do. You move as if you've seen them all before, even though you were never involved in their rituals. You instantly identify their codes, even though you were never taught them. You act as if you never needed them, but you were never allowed access to their inner circles. Because you don't. They accumulated information because they believed it would keep them superior to everyone else. What did they fail to comprehend, though? Bloodlines cannot subjugate wisdom. Their worst nightmare has finally materialized. What they have devoted their lives to defending is in your possession, and they will never take it away from you, no matter what they do or how they attempt to get it back. Control, riches, manipulation, and terror were the foundations of their universe. They think that everyone has a cost. For power, some will betray. For comfort, some may bow. Under pressure, some will shatter. They met you, however. All of a sudden, their system collapsed. Because of you, you cannot be purchased. They attempted to entice you with wealth by promising you luxury, prestige, and power. You didn't move, however, for what you own is precious. They attempted to buy your quiet by offering you comfort in the hopes that you would stop doing what you were ordered to do. However, their world was never necessary for your survival. Then they were fearful. Threats were uttered in an attempt to frighten you. They dispatched someone to see how strong you were. They made an effort to keep you apart, to make you feel alone, and to convince you that speaking the truth would be very costly. But this is what you were made for. Exile is not a threat to you. Slander is not a threat to you. Being outnumbered is not something you dread, because you are guided by a force that does not bargain. They believed that by removing your support, instilling self-doubt, and persuading everyone that you are the issue, they could silence you. But you grew stronger each time they attempted to bury you, because only those who need their services can benefit from their system. However, you carry something bigger with you. Their approval was never necessary. You never need their approval. Their approval was never required for you to exist. They are afraid of you because of it. Therefore, you cannot be touched. Not that they haven't made an effort. However, nothing they do will ever be effective. They never thought that someone would be impervious to their strategies. They were never ready for an uncontrollable force. And now, they are aware now. The one thing they can't stop is you. They dedicated their whole lives to creating barriers. Barriers of fear, distraction, and deceit. They warned the world that some information was off limits, that asking the wrong questions would drive one insane, and that going past their bounds would lead to your demise. And it did for a while. They ensured that the truth was buried so deeply that very few people would ever venture to unearth it. They shaped reality itself by controlling religion, history, and education. They also thought it would never be exposed. And then you appeared, and all they had constructed began to crumble. Because you went beyond the barriers they erected. You passed through them with ease. You persisted when others stopped. You believed what you knew, while others had doubts. You wanted more, while others took what they were told. And you didn't keep it to yourself after you discovered what was concealed. You said something. You made it public. You broke their illusions in ways they weren't expecting. They anticipated that their deceit would leave you perplexed. Rather, it was you who exposed it. Perhaps you happened onto things by chance. Or perhaps you didn't completely comprehend what you were seeing, they told themselves, explaining it as a coincidence. Then you did something that surprised them. You resisted being stopped. You were gaslighted, but it just made you more lucid. Despite their attempts to divert you, you remained focused. Even their attempts to incite others against you were ineffective in stifling the unquestionable truth you held. You have nothing to lose in contrast to them. You don't hold on to their authority. You don't need their consent. You don't worry about their opinion. And that's why they've become panicked out of frustration. As you weren't meant to reach this point. And now, nothing they can do can stop you now. For centuries, they dominated the flow of information. They made decisions on what was allowed and what wasn't. They determined who remained ignorant and who had access to knowledge. The notion that truth was something that only they could control was the foundation of their power. Now, though, it's all sliding out of their grasp now. How about you? One of the reasons for this is you. In the past, they moved silently. They concealed their knowledge beneath layers of deceit and concealment. They believed they could keep the chosen ones dispersed, alone, and oblivious to their own might. However, that strategy hasn't worked. Therefore, you are not alone. The selected ones are waking up more and more. The illusion is being broken by an increasing number of individuals. At an uncontrollable rate, more and more buried facts are coming to light. They are now in a panic because of this. They witness it in real time. The outdated barriers are no longer effective. They fail in their efforts to suppress others. The potency of their diversions has diminished. No one is being duped by their manipulating techniques. Because when the moment is right, truth spreads like wildfire. And now is the moment. Don't you sense it? The change. This is when the illusion breaks. The indisputable feeling that something enormous is coming apart. They also do. It also frightens them. For generations, they made sure that the general public never made the connection, that no one ever solved the riddle, and that the selected ones never understood their true identities. Now, though, it's too late for them now. The weight of truth is causing the system they created to crumble. They are unable to halt it. They are unable to stop it. What has already been started cannot be stopped. How about you? Their time is over and you are live evidence of it. They sought to identify, classify, track, and confine you. However, your movements are too fluid for their systems. You never fall victim to their delusions because you can see through them. You pass past their buildings, yet you are unaffected. They are unable to touch you even after you reveal their deceit. And that? They go crazy about it. They created whole systems to keep individuals in line, including networks that track every movement, search, and conversation, organizations that stifle free thinking, and algorithms that govern narratives. However, you move like a ghost through their system. Although you express the truth, you avoid their pitfalls. You don't make yourself a target. You just awaken others. You thwart their plans without ever putting yourself in their shoes. What worries them the most is not just that you know, but that they are unable to prevent you from knowing. They anticipated opposition. They got ready to revolt. They have oppositional techniques. They are capable of dealing with a frontal assault. However, you don't confront them directly. Their gates are not stormed. You just pass through them. You make their system worthless, not broken. You render their authority meaningless rather than contesting it. And that? Nothing could ruin them more than that, because their system only functions if people interact with it, are afraid of it, and respect its authority. However, you refuse to respect their authority. You reveal the truth without requesting consent. Without requesting access, you may acquire knowledge. It is impossible for them to control you. And you prosper as a result, because you are able to move freely while they are frantically trying to maintain their authority. They created a method to hold you accountable. However, you are the evidence that they are losing control. Furthermore, they are unable to stop it.